Chapter 11:18, Klein's Fear. In the past, Ro's redemption could be called the deity alliance, but such an organization could only develop itself quietly under the might of the ancient sun god. It had to hide, and secretly scheme in the Palace of Dusk. How powerful was the ancient sun god in the past? Klein couldn't help but let out a breath as he felt deeply poignant. He examined his own tarot club and realized that, compared to the Ro's redemption, it was like child's play. Even if he counted the auxiliary members, Will Ossipton, Pallas Zarost, Azek Eggers, and Rionette Tynker, there was no way to compare with the Ro's redemption at its peak. No, even if I compare it with the current watered-down version of Ro's redemption, there's still a huge gap between it and the Tarot Club. After all, its leader and convener is only a sequence 4 saint. Klein gave a self-deprecating laugh as he turned his attention to the 11 figures. Based on their images, titles, and true names, I can confirm that the Wind Angel, Wisdom Angel, and White Angel are the current Lord of Storms, the god of knowledge and wisdom, and the eternal blazing sun. They really betrayed the ancient sun god, the City of Silver's creator, and they even feasted on the deity they served. The god of combat and Earth Mother are indeed survivors of the Giant King's court. One of them is the eldest son of the Giant King, and the other is his queen. They're mother and son, so that way, the fact that Potter didn't directly declare war on the Lord of Storms to help Fasak makes things a little odd. It requires some thought. Also, the goddess was indeed a former subsidiary god of the annihilation demonic wolf, the goddess of misfortune, Ammonizes. After that ancient god perished, not only did she grasp the authority of the Evernight and successfully ascend to the throne of Sequence Zero, she also single-handedly destroyed all the descendants of Phlegrea, sealed the Antigonus family's angel within the nation of the Evernight, and used the Mother of the Sky's body as her vessel for a descent. That's ruthless. As a blessed of Evernight, Klein subconsciously raised his head to look around when he thought of this, afraid that his inner thoughts would leak out to the outside world. After entering the foggy town and learning that Antigonus and the Mother of the Sky were the descendants of the ancient god, Phlegrea, Klein had a certain idea as to the true identity of the Evernight goddess. After all, in the history of the City of Silver, it clearly stated that the annihilation demonic wolf controlled the authority of the Evernight and had many strange powers. Combined with the Antigonus family's possession of the seer pathway, and the Mother of the Sky of the Nation of the Night clearly belonging to Evernight, Klein suspected that the annihilation demonic wolf Phlegrea was an ancient god that had mixed 2 non-neighboring pathways, beyonder characteristics. Therefore, he was extremely crazy and almost irrational. His goal was to destroy and corrupt everything. Hence, he guessed that the Evernight goddess might have something to do with the ancient god Phlegrea. From Grossel's travels, he learned that one of the 2 subsidiary gods of the demonic Wolf King had gone missing after he perished, while the other had submitted to the Phoenix ancestor. Furthermore, that true name corresponded to death of the 4th epoch, Mr. Azek's father. With that, he could vaguely connect the goddess of misfortune Ammonizes to the Evernight goddess. However, due to his temporary status as a blessed of Evernight, he didn't dare think too much about it. Instead, he focused his attention elsewhere. At this moment, when he saw her real name, he wasn't too shocked. Instead, he felt relieved and felt as though he were on firm ground. In addition, he was even more fearful of the Evernight goddess. Because she didn't want the ancient god Phlegrea to be revived, the goddess controlled the various matters of the seer pathway, preventing beyonders who aren't cleared by her to advance further. That's right, that ecclesiastic in Afternoon Town mentioned who tempted Dark Angel Sasrier, the left hand of God, and the deputy of the Divine Kingdom, but he couldn't say the name, as if it had been erased. Isn't this a demonstration of concealment powers? Other than a place like the Giant King's court, there's no way to say the names Evernight Goddess and Ammonizes together. Even if one did, no one would be able to hear it. There are 2 people who convened Ro's redemption. One is Dark Angel Sasrier, and the other is the goddess. Apart from the venue where the ploy was conceived, it's filled with the forces of concealment. In other words, the goddess had single-handedly directed the fall of the ancient sun god, started the cataclysm, and ended the 3rd epoch. Compared to her, be it Adam or Ammon, they are still far from her. How could such a true deity be so easily trapped by Adam's arrangements and be unable to interfere with matters of the real world? Although it's not a conspiracy where something the goddess yearns for the most is used, making her willingly walk into a trap, how can the goddess, who wields the powers of concealment and plotted the death of the city of silver creator, be unprepared? Also, what does this is also in line with his thoughts mean? Who does he refer to? After understanding so much hidden history, will I digest the scholar of your potion on the spot once I drink it? With this in mind, Klein raised his right hand and rubbed his temples, forcing himself to focus his thoughts elsewhere. When that ecclesiastic phantom mentioned the fourth king of angels, it self-destructed. Was it because the remaining three became true gods? However, the residents of the City of Silver would occasionally use the names Badhale and Harabergen, so why wasn't there an anomaly? What is the difference? The strongest among the kings of angels, the left hand of God, Sasrir, why did he disappear into the rivers of history? Perhaps he is one of the present-day evil gods, the true creator, the dark side of the universe, or the mother tree of desire. There are remnants of the godhood of degeneracy outside the hall. Was this left behind by him? Yes, the birth of the true creator is related to the Rose redemption. How will he react when he sees the murals in this hall? With a thought, Klein cast his gaze at Shepherd Elder Lovia. The lady looked a little lost. She didn't seem to understand the titles and names, but she recognized a portion of them. For example, Angel of Fate or Rose. She had become a believer of the true creator in the temple ruins, left behind by Rose. Derek also stole a glance at Elder Lovia, but he didn't notice any obvious changes in her emotions. As the son of the Tarot Club, Derek was one of the people present who knew the situation of the outside world the most. Furthermore, he had long known who the kings of angels were. He suspected that 3 of them had later become deities. At this moment, he was the least confused and perplexed. He was only slightly shocked at Rose Redemption's level. This was more exaggerated than he had imagined. It's no wonder the Lord perished. Derek was first enlightened before he felt his heart turn heavy. At this moment, he swept his gaze and saw the chief's face turn pale and ugly. He even muttered a few words softly. This is impossible, impossible. As far as I can remember, the chief has never lost his composure like this. Did he think of the Lord perishing due to Rose redemption? He can't accept that he will never return. However, he had long learned of this from me. Just as Derek was feeling puzzled, he discovered that, aside from his tightly pursed lips, the chief's expression had returned to normal. In the minds of the other members of the exploration team, the prophecy they had previously learned in Afternoon Town appeared. Omnipotent Lord, I repent, tempted Sasrir. The kings often came to the palace belonging to the dusk to conspire. It was already too late by the time I discovered all of this. Degeneration, bloodshed, darkness, rot, murders, corruption, and shadows had already drowned this piece of land. A huge calamity will begin here. Haim, who was holding the unshadowed crucifix, took a long while to calm his emotions. He said in a slightly hoarse voice, "This is the place belonging to the dusk. These are the subsidiary gods and kings of angels during the second epoch. They plotted everything, causing a huge calamity to happen. They made the Lord forsake this land." Colin Iliad pulled out the 2 swords in front of him and half-turned around, calmly replying, "Most likely. If we can figure out what exactly happened back then, do we have a chance to please the Lord and let him look at this land again?" Upon hearing the chief's answer, Antiona asked anxiously. At that moment, Derek seemed to see a trace of pity and sadness in the chief's eyes. He heard him acknowledge and say, "Perhaps." "Then let's continue exploring," the other team members pleaded with burning eyes. This was the closest the City of Silver had gotten to having a glimmer of hope over the past 2,000 to 3,000 years. None of them wished to let it go, even if they had to sacrifice their lives for it. Colin Iliad slowly surveyed the area and said, "Don't forget the principles to uphold during explorations. Don't act rashly at any time. Having confirmed that this place is related to redemption, we can always come a second time, a third time, or even more. There's no need to be so impatient." Upon hearing his words, the other members of the exploration team calmed down. They replied one after another. Yes, Your Excellency. Under the arrangements of demon hunter Colin, the remaining members split up into small groups and carefully searched the hall. They didn't discover anything else that was valuable beyond the murals. Of course, it wasn't that there was no such thing. This was, after all, a divine kingdom of an ancient god. What seemed like an ordinary long table, chairs, stone pillars, and torches might have special effects when taken outside. Furthermore, those effects could last for a very long period of time. Alas, it wasn't convenient for the City of Silver's expedition team to bring them around, as they lacked practical value. As for the other murals, they were profiled from different angles of the main murals. When combined, they formed a three-dimensional scene. After completing the search, Derek and company gathered again and followed the chief to the exit at the back of the hall. There was a gray-blue door with a single pane. With a 10-meter-tall door between the two of them, Colin Iliad carefully observed for a while before finally saying, "There's a powerful guard outside."